Hi, beautiful people. Enjoy this episode of Genesis of Lands. Watch, listen, and learn. And don't forget to subscribe. Ciao, ciao.
There's a place in Ethiopia where angels worked at night, where 11 churches stand 4 stories tall, yet you can't see them until you're standing directly above them, where an entire city was carved downward into volcanic rock, not built upward toward the sky, 8,000 feet above sea level. The northern highlands of Ethiopia, a town that was supposed to fade into history. Instead, it became one of Christianity's holiest sites. But here's what no one tells you. This wasn't just faith. This was prophecy, exile, and a king who refused to let Jerusalem fall to anyone, even if it meant carving a new one by hand from stone. Was Lalibela discovered? Or was it commanded into existence? A town called Roa, high in the mountains of Lasta province. A housemaid named Kirwerna gave birth to a son. And then something impossible happened. A swarm of bees descended upon the newborn child, covering him completely. Not a single sting. Not a drop of blood. Just thousands of bees hovering, protecting, prophesying. His mother understood immediately. In that time, bees were believed to possess the power to see the future. She named him Lalibela. In the Aga language, it means the bees recognize his sovereignty. The prophecy spread like wildfire through the royal court. This child would be king. But there was a problem. His half-brother, Harbe, already wore the crown. And kings who believe in prophecies don't wait for them to come true. They eliminate the threat. So Lalibela was sent into exile. First to Jerusalem. Then to the deserts. Anywhere far from the throne. Anywhere his brother could forget the bees and the boy they promised would rule. But you can't outrun destiny. While in Jerusalem, something changed in Lalibela. He walked the streets where Christ had walked. He prayed at Golgotha. He saw the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. He stood on the Mount of Olives. And then in 1187, Saladin's armies captured Jerusalem. The city fell to Muslim forces. Christian pilgrims could no longer reach the Holy Land. Lalibela watched it happen. And in that moment of defeat, he had a vision. Some say he was poisoned by his enemies and fell into a coma for 3 days and 3 nights. Others say Christ appeared to him directly. But every account agrees on one thing. He was told to build a new Jerusalem. Not in the Middle East. In Africa. In Ethiopia. In the highlands where he was born. God gave him the designs. The measurements. The names. The purpose. And when Lalibela returned to Ethiopia, he wasn't coming back to hide. He was coming back to build. Around 1181, Lalibela seized the throne from his brother. The bees had been right. Now came the impossible part. Building churches that defied everything architecture had ever been. Most buildings rise from the ground. Stone upon stone. Column upon column. But Lalibela's vision was different. His churches would descend into the earth. They would be carved from single blocks of volcanic rock. Top to bottom. Outside to inside. Subtractive, not constructive. Imagine standing on flat ground and digging down 40 feet. Then carving windows, doors, pillars, altars, arches, vaults. All from the same piece of stone. No bricks. No mortar. No wood. Just hammers, chisels, and an unshakable belief that this was divine will. Over 24 years, Lalibela's workers carved 11 churches. The largest, Beit Medhain Elam, the house of the Savior of the world, stands 33 feet tall, 108 feet long, and 72 feet wide. All from one block of red volcanic scoria and gray basalt. But it wasn't just the size. It was the detail. Carved moldings that looked like they were added separately. Window frames in the shape of crosses. Greek columns. Axamite designs. Islamic geometric patterns. Coptic Christian motifs. Every church had a different style, as if built by different civilizations across centuries. Yet they were all carved within decades. The people whispered, "This can't be human work." And so the legend grew. Men worked during the day. Angels worked at night. In 1544, a Portuguese soldier named Miguel de Castinhoso visited Lalibela and wrote, "There are here certain churches cut out of the living rock, which are attributed to angels." Indeed, the work appears superhuman. Even invaders couldn't destroy them. When Muslim forces tried to demolish the churches with crowbars and gunpowder, the stone wouldn't break. The churches stood, untouched, as if protected by something beyond war. Lalibela didn't just carve churches. He carved a geography of faith. He divided the complex with a stream and named it the River Jordan. On one side, the churches represented earthly Jerusalem. On the other, heavenly Jerusalem. A nearby hill became the Mount of Olives. One church was named Golgotha. Another, the Holy Sepulchre. Pilgrims walking through Lalibela were walking through the Bible itself. But one church stands apart. Literally. About 300 meters from the others, carved in the shape of a perfect Greek cross. Beat Georgius. The Church of St. George. Legend says Lalibela was so focused on completing his new Jerusalem that he forgot to dedicate a church to St. George. The saint appeared to him, furious, riding a white horse. He demanded his own church. Lalibela apologized and immediately began carving. And when it was finished, it became the most iconic structure in all of Lalibela. 50 feet deep. 4 stories tall. Shaped like a cross from above. Pilgrims still gather at dawn, surrounding it, praying, singing, believing. If you look closely at the rock, locals will point out hoof prints. They say those are from St. George's horse. Not everyone believes King Lalibela built all 11 churches. Some archaeologists argue that certain structures, like Beit Mercurius and Beit Gabriel Rufel, were originally fortresses or royal palaces carved centuries earlier during the Aksumite kingdom, between 600 and 800 AD. Lalibela may have simply converted them into churches. Recent excavations found pottery and animal remains dating to 900–1100 AD, suggesting Roa was a secular settlement before Lalibela transformed it into a sacred center. But whether he built them all from scratch or repurposed ancient structures, one thing is undeniable. Lalibela made this place holy. He gave it purpose. He turned volcanic rock into prayer. His wife, Meskel Kibra, whose name means glory of the cross, is credited with building one church in his honor. Beit Abba Libanos. Some say she built it after Lalibela's death as a memorial. Others claim angels helped her complete it in a single night. When Lalibela died, he was buried in one of his own churches. Beit Golgotha. His tomb remains there to this day, watched over by priests who believe the ground itself is sacred. The town of Roa was renamed Lalibela. And for centuries, it became a place of pilgrimage rivaling Jerusalem itself. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church declared that visiting Lalibela brought the same blessings as visiting the Holy Land. Today, over 100,000 pilgrims journey to Lalibela every year. Many walk for days, sometimes weeks, fasting, dressed in white, carrying nothing but faith. They descend steep rock staircases into trenches and courtyards carved 800 years ago. They move through tunnels connecting the churches, touching walls that were once solid mountains. At Christmas, called Jenna in Ethiopia, nearly 200,000 worshippers pack into the churches. They chant. They pray. They celebrate all night until dawn breaks on Christmas Day. The churches aren't museums. They're alive, active, breathing with devotion. But time is threatening what faith has preserved. The volcanic rock is soft. Water erodes it. Seismic activity destabilizes it. In 2008, protective shelters were erected over 5 churches to prevent further damage. Ugly, industrial, tent-like coverings. But necessary. Restoration efforts face a unique challenge. Every millimeter of rock is considered sacred. Carved by angels according to belief. So when conservators need to drill a hole to insert a stabilizing pin, they must first ask permission from the priests. Because cutting sacred stone isn't just construction. It's desecration. One priest explained, "We cannot simply repair what God and the angels built. We must honor it." In 1978, UNESCO declared Lalibela a World Heritage Site. Today, it's recognized as one of the most important Christian pilgrimage sites in the world. The largest concentration of rock-hewn churches on Earth. But the people of Lalibela still live in traditional circular stone huts, just as their ancestors did. They farm the same terraced hillsides. They carry water from the same streams. Lalibela hasn't become a city. It remains a town. A sacred, quiet, timeless place where the past and present exist side by side. From a prophecy spoken by bees to a vision commanded by God to 11 churches carved by men and angels. Lalibela is proof that faith can move mountains. Or in this case remove them. One chisel strike at a time. A king in exile became a saint. A town called Roa became the New Jerusalem. A single block of stone became a cathedral. And 800 years later, pilgrims still descend into the earth to rise toward heaven. So here's the question. If you were told to build a city of God with nothing but rock, faith, and time, would you believe it was possible? Or would you call it madness? King Lalibela didn't ask that question. He just started carving. And the angels worked at night. Lalibela. Where 11 churches stand hidden until you find them. Where the earth holds what heaven designed. Where a swarm of bees once promised a throne. And a king made stones sing.